Hey, this is Mark A. Altman, and if you're a fan of this podcast, you already know the 50-year mission is definitive oral history of Star Trek, and Secrets of the Force will tell you everything you want to know about the history of Star Wars. But what you probably don't know is Ed Gross and I have a new book coming out this July. They Shouldn't Have Killed His Dog, the complete, uncensored, ass-kicking oral history of John Wick, Gun Fu, and the new age of action. Coming from St. Martin's in hardcover, digital, and audio. You can order it today. Hey, this is Mark A. Altman.
This is DAREN DOCHTERMAN, and we are the Inglorious Trexperts.
I thought it was a classic femme fatale. Just so much fun.
Like that Shakespearean lace in your acting.
I said, Gene, what do you want from this character?
I want you to just take the character and make it your own.
I had a good time on the film.
On day one, the movie was already $15 million over budget.
We started this movie without an ending. That's like painting yourself into a corner.
I don't think we've ever had a Star Trek captain on our show.
Being, as you said, number one on the call sheet, it is a producer's position if you're going to take it seriously. I was so glad they didn't cast me as Lorca.
You famously wrote that script in 12 days.
On one level, I wrote the script, and on another level, the story was written by everybody and his brother.
New episodes every Saturday, wherever you listen to podcasts, or download the Electric Now app. Keep on trekking. Ingloriously, of course. Inglorious Trexperts, the only podcast for fans with a life, is available every Friday, wherever you listen to podcasts, and on the free Electric Now app. Download it today.
Hello and welcome to Best Movies Never Made, the podcast where we talk about interesting and infamous movies that never made it to or through production. Most of the time, the movies you're trying to make don't get made.
Like 4 of them may happen, 1 of them may happen, none of them may happen, and I'll be attached to 3 more things by end of summer.
Turn the script into something resembling like Unforgiven with Conan.
Yeah.
Suddenly the rights expired and the whole thing just like went away overnight.
New episodes will be available every other Monday. We won't see you at the movies.
Best Movies Never Made, as featured in Entertainment Weekly, is available wherever you listen to podcasts and on the free Electric Now app. Hey, this is Mark A. Altman, and this is the 430 movie. And welcome to Send in the Clowns Week. Speaking of,
they're already here, Mark.
I was just going to say, maybe not the best name for our week because...
Don't bother. They're here.
It invites way too many jokes.
More clowns than you can shake a stick at week.
The clowns have been there from the beginning. From the very first episode, you've had clowns on this show.
What, do I amuse you? Am I a clown to you?
And Darius picked Goodfellas.
Yeah, you're funny. You know,
this is the way you tell a story.
Well, you in case you haven't guessed, this week we're doing movies about clowns. Movies about clowns. And I want to remind you, this is the 5th season of the 430 movie, and you're welcome to I'm sure on the Twitter and everything you can talk about when the show jumped the shark. Could be this week. We don't know. I tend to think it was a monkey business week, but you make the judge. You be the judge.
That sound you're hearing is the bottom of the barrel being scraped.
Scrape.
Well, we got a couple more weeks in the season, and I think we're going to rebound with some very special shows coming up. Today it's all about the clowns. We're clowning around on the show. And I want to remind you that if you want to see us clowning around in person, I don't know. It just seemed like a good segue. What can I say? That we're all going to be down at the San Diego Comic-Con in July on a multitude of panels where you can come visit us, tell us how much you like the podcasts. And then some of us will even be going to Viva Las Vegas.
Las Vegas.
The big Star Trek event down there in August. So a lot of opportunities to see your favorite 430 movie hosts live and in person.
I wasn't aware that 2 constitutes a what? A lot.
Well, it is for some of us.
My mind is going.
A full 50%.
You're actually, well, we don't go to a lot of these events, especially coming on the heels of the pandemic. That is a lot. And you're actually going to be at the, if I'm not mistaken, going to be at the Ticonderoga event as well.
Ticonderoga.
When is that, Darren?
Hanging with Mr. Shatner. I believe it's around the 14th.
Wow. Okay.
Of July.
In July.
Wasn't there a movie called Mac and Me? This would be Bill and Me.
Yes.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there was.
It was like an ET ripoff, wasn't it?
Mac and Bill and Me.
Yeah. So Bill and Me, and it's the story of Darren Dochterman and Bill Shatner. It's kind of like that.
And his imaginary friend.
That Ben Stiller show. I'm friends with Scotty.
That's right.
No. Okay. By the way, a couple months ago, I went back and I rewatched the Ben Stiller show with my wife, and that show is pretty funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. I loved it. What was it? Die Hard 8.
Clowns.
Well, not anymore. He's to be someone to be taken very seriously.
Oh, he's very serious
as the
now.
showrunner of Severance, which I'm hopeful will get a couple of Emmy nominations this award season. Did you guys get your Emmy ballots this week?
I got the link. Yes.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. It's all. I'm not a member. I didn't think they hand delivered you a little piece of paper. I'm like,
they haven't invited me.
A guy on a bicycle showed up at my door and rang the bell and handed me my ballot.
I want my $3.
Okay, well, so what would you like to see win the big show this year?
Peacemaker.
Yeah, because you like butterflies. Butterflies are free.
Damn right, I love butterflies.
I have to say, I really enjoyed Peacemaker.
Yeah, it was pretty terrific.
That main title sequence needs to win just all the awards on its own.
It does.
See, I got to tell you something. Sorry, Darren, I didn't mean to cut you off.
Yes, you did. It's okay.
Then let me finish my thought, because I was going to say, I understand people are all radio gaga over the Peacemaker opening credit sequence, but James did that in the specials. Now, admittedly, it's much better in Peacemaker, but everybody says, "Oh, look, the whole thing stops for this big musical sequence," and
only because the budget on his opening title sequence was double that of the entire
of the specials. But there's literally a musical number for absolutely no reason in the middle of the specials. So it was like when I saw this, and my son's like, "Oh, this is so funny! This is great." I said, "Yeah, but you saw the specials; it's the same thing." Same thing. There's actually a lot of similarities between the specials and Peacemaker. Peacemaker is much better, however.
He's clearly been ruminating on this idea for decades, and it's finally achieved its full flower.
I like to see Better Call Saul get some love.
Yes.
And Rhea Seehorn,
absolutely. She is awesome.
Great.
Rhea Seehorn and her ponytail should win a couple of years worth of Emmys.
Yeah, she's due.
So good.
So great on the show. And it's amazing what Vince Gilligan and Peter Gould have pulled off this season. Well, the whole show. Yeah. To take this kind of wackadoodle character from Breaking Bad, and it could have been Aftermath, but instead it's arguably better than Breaking Bad. It's there are other shows that are Aftermath, but we're not going to talk about those.
That's strange.
Very strange. So anyway, what about you? So if you had been invited to vote in the Oscars, the Emmys, what's your pick?
I don't know, man. It's all crap. No, I'm kidding. That's a great question. I actually did quite love the Peacemaker. I thought that was pretty terrific television. Damn, that's a great question.
Are you watching The Boys this season?
I haven't watched it. I'm waiting for all of it to drop so that I can binge it and just watch it in one glorious run. Yeah, I am told that is bananas.
BANANAS, bananas. Steve, I know you watched We Own the City, which is up for a limited series because it was only 6 episodes. What do you think of the show from David Simon?
David Simon. I mean, I'm here for anything that David Simon puts on the air. I think he's terrific. I thought it was a great show, and I would definitely vote for it.
Yeah, and even though I agree, I loved it, but even though Succession was a while ago, Succession is definitely high on my list. And I just basically, everyone was telling me you got to watch For All Mankind. They've been telling me for 3 years, and I love Ron Moore, but for whatever reason, it didn't speak to me. And I started watching it like 2 weeks ago. It's fantastic.
Yeah,
it's fantastic.
I
really
love
it.
it.
It's great.
Really good.
You would dig it the most, I think. Yeah, I really am into it. I've just been binging it like crazy. So, but I'll tell you something I liked a lot last season. Flight Attendant just self-destructed this season. I don't know if any of you guys watch it, but it was just a mess.
I loved, like, the first season is brilliant.
I agree.
And I think there's a lot I dig about the second season, but ultimately I felt like it got
convoluted.
There was something. Yeah, it did. It got convoluted, and in a way, but convoluted in a way that made it wrap up too neatly.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, like, it took me a while to go from episode 7 to episode 8, simply because I felt it was just so. I mean, I didn't mind that it was dark, but I obviously not. I mean, look at how I'm dressed. But it was bleak in a way that didn't suggest where it was going, or where in a way that I thought was necessarily interesting. Yeah. Whereas in the first season, when I got through episode 8, I couldn't believe I was through episode 8.
Yeah. I felt it was very forced this season. Yeah. And I the best thing were the supporting characters. It's just what they were doing with it just felt really disappointed. Although I have to say, I thought Sharon Stone gave a tour de force performance.
Oh,
really
yeah.
great.
I mean, that whole episode where she goes home, and I love you, but I don't like you, was just boom. That was terrific.
Yeah. And I'm sure we've said that to each other on the show a couple of times
all
ourselves.
The time. I think we just I think that's our mantra here on the 430 movie.
Yeah. Well, before we, as you can see, I'm trying to stall on this whole clown week. But
come on, it's going to be great.
We're going to get there in a second, but I would be.
It's going to be as good as the Audrey Hepburn week. It's
Audrey Hepburn week was really good.
It was great.
You know why? Because she made great movies. It helps.
Yeah. It helps. Did she make any great clown movies?
No, thankfully. Funny Faces is as close as she got. So I gotta ask you, because I wrapped up last week our favorite miniseries, and I say that with a little bit of sarcasm. The Offer. Of course, this is the tale of how one man single-handedly made The Godfather possible. And as I mentioned on social, I think what's great is it really opens the door for Al Ruddy to save Nakatomi Plaza next season.
Absolutely.
Or at the very least, make a sequel to Megaforce.
Was it a couple days ago that Coppola was quoted as saying, I'm not even sure Ruddy was even in New York.
I know.
Oh.
Are you okay?
Where's Al Ruddy?
We can't hear you.
Not in New York.
That was intentional because I was coughing.
Okay, good.
But
he needs a lozenge.
But for those of you who don't know what we're talking about, The Offer, supposedly, it was a 10-episode miniseries on Paramount Plus.
Based on the recollections of Al Ruddy during the production of The Godfather.
What's incredible is there have been all these spectacular books about the making of The Godfather.
Yeah.
And there have been great documentaries with Francis Ford Coppola. Obviously, The Kid Stays in the Picture. The memoirs of Robert Evans is one of the great.
And they all mostly agree to each other.
They do. And of course,
until now,
this is very well documented because, of course, one of the most infamous things is Francis Ford Coppola never thanked Bob Evans when he accepted his Oscars because there was so much vitriol between him and Evans. But the way that The Offer paints it, it's like they're the best friends gang. They could run the world together.
It's like the New Testament. All of the Gospels tell slightly different stories of the life and teachings of Jesus Christ. So how should Francis Ford Coppola be any different?
The Book of Ruddy.
Right, exactly.
Book of Ruddy.
Well, they do say that everyone is the star of their own movie, and this show puts that to the test.
Absolutely. Yes.
But it's funny because, like, for instance, Matthew Good is phenomenal as Bob Evans. And I read an interview with him recently, and he says, people have been very critical of the show, but I don't think it's our responsibility to be, accurate. something like that. And it's like, all I could do was play he's very defensive about the whole thing. They're all super defensive about it. But I think when you take such enormous liberties, and it's fair that people are critical. Now, it's wonderfully entertaining in the way that the Oscar is entertaining.
Yeah.
I'm talking about but for a lot of people, they think this is really the way it happened.
Right.
And it's not even close.
No way, baby. No way.
But I want to see, as Steve pointed out on Twitter, I would pay real money to see Matthew Good do The Kid Stays in the Picture at this point.
Absolutely.
Or the making of Megaforce with Al Ruddy.
You bet your ass.
It was the biggest film of 1982, and it wouldn't have happened without Al Ruddy.
Was it all a pack of lies? You bet it was. But we sure it's fun.
Okay, well, guys, that is enough clowning around because it really is time to do our Clown Week. This is a movie, this is a week, a fantasy theme week of films either featuring or about clowns. So, and I'm not talking about like All the President's Men. The Watergate plumbers don't count as clowns. They have to wear like Ronald McDonald or something. They have to have like a clown face.
Well, if you watch the recent miniseries Gaslit, they may count as clowns.
No, I don't have stars. So
that's a good show.
I guess I do have the the Academy does send you like these links and stuff, but I don't have stars.
Sean Penn, Julia Roberts, very entertaining.
They had stars. I don't have stars. Okay. So we're going to start, as always, with Monday, and Steve Melching will start us off as we send in the clowns for an all-new 4:30 movie fantasy theme week. So, Steve, what are we watching?
Well, I'm going with a little film from 2002, directed by and written by George Lucas, called Attack of the Clowns. And this is
Is that the one where all of the clone troopers just keep streaming off of like that one troop ship?
Yeah,
and
they have one ship and there's like a million of them.
I don't think they're clown troopers. I think they were clones.
And they have big feet.
huge feet.
No, that's not my pick. I was just kidding. Ha ha. As if I
jumped the shark. That's what I said.
Hearts, the clown is horror.
Yeah, as I'm sure we'll discover as we program this week, there are all kinds of movies with clowns. Some of them might be funny. Some of them might be try to be funny. Some of them, probably a lot of them, are horror movies because clowns. There's that. What's the actual clinical phrase for someone who has a phobia of clowns?
Fucking scariest.
There's an actual.
There's a
term for that. I've never suffered from it. I always thought clowns are just kind of dumb.
It's bozophobia.
Bozophobia?
I just said that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah,
we did.
Then that must be it.
So it's Howdy Doody time, and your pick is.
Go on, don't wait for the translation answer.
God,
Steve doesn't have one. Steve doesn't have one. He's so
exciting.
What are you talking about?
You don't have a pick.
Oh, a pick. My pick, yes. Of course I have a pick. No, my actual pick is it's a film about a crying on the inside kind of clown. It's a movie from 1990, directed by Howard Franklin and Bill Murray, starring Bill Murray, called Quick Change.
Let's make a commitment. Let's not be like every other couple on the IRT. Will you rob a bank with me?
I will, Grim. I will.
Hey! I got 3 more minutes.
We're closed, bozo.
Let's not mess with me today.
What the hell kind of clown are you?
The crying on the inside kind, I guess. Fill this up with regular, please.
This is our perpetrator.
Average height, average build, red nose, blue hair.
It was the perfect crime. Now, all they need to do is get to the airport.
Did we miss the expressway?
Getting farther away every second.
By car.
Oh, we're really making progress now.
I saw a sign, Phyllis.
3 of them out there shouting with glee. Taxi! By cab.
Airport. Look.
Huh?
Great. And why don't you take us straight to Sing Sing?
There's a real cabin. Stop! Taxi!
By foot. By bus.
Do you go to the airport?
Near the airport. That is an exact change.
You better get some help. You're becoming Ralph Cramden's evil twin.
By midnight. Bill Murray.
Can we just calm down a little, please?
Gina Davis.
Oh, we'll never make the flight. We'll have to sail a raft to Fiji like Thor Heyerdahl.
Please, God!
Randy Quaid.
We need a cab! One loud freaking cab!
Jason Robards.
So easy getting in. No way out.
In a major metropolitan comedy. Quick Change.
Was that our plane?
No. If it were our plane, it'd be crashing.
God, I hate this town.
Which is a heist film that also stars Gina Davis and Randy Quaid, who are the other members of Bill Murray's bank robbing crew. It also stars Jason Robards as the New York City police detective who's trying to catch them. And it features an array of comedians in supporting roles, including Bob Elliott of Bob and Ray, a young Phil Hartman, Tony Shalhoub, Stanley Tucci, and even Kurtwood Smith. And
can't go wrong with that cast.
It's a great cast. It was also produced by Bill Murray. It's the only film that Bill Murray has directed and
co-directed.
Because apparently Jonathan Demme had to drop out, and so
he read the script.
It's actually, I don't know. I think it's it's a fun movie. It's got a pretty clever heist at the beginning where
I love the heist. I think the first 15 minutes of that movie, in fact, it was on my short list only because I think the first 15 minutes of that movie are so good. I think it self-destructs after that, but I love the heist. Love it. It's really inventive.
It's Bill Murray is in disguise as a clown for the opening act of the movie, and they pull off this really clever heist. They rob this bank of like $1 million, and the rest of the movie is about their getaway or their attempts to get away. And it's one of those things. It's sort of an after hours situation where everything that could go wrong in their escape seems to go wrong. They just can't get out of New York City with their money. And it's just a really, just a fun caper heist movie with a clown. It had a kind of a mid-range budget and did not do particularly well. I think it lost money, and I don't think it really had a lasting impact on the film business, but it was one of those kind of fun mid-range comedies that don't seem to get made that much anymore.
Yeah, no, I'm not surprised to see on the list because I think it's right up there with Inside Man in terms of the caper. It's like it's so clever. I hadn't seen anything like that before. I thought it was really smart, but when you compare it to After Hours, I'm horrified because I'm a huge fan of After Hours. I just, for whatever reason, don't feel this film doesn't work for me overall, the rest of the movie. But it's a good clown movie. I mean, it's a good pick for Clown Week.
Yeah, I take it from the thundering silence that no one else has seen this movie.
No, I've seen it. And I agree with Mark. I mean, I think the heist is great. I love Bill Murray. I always love Bill Murray.
Sure, what's not to love?
But it doesn't quite, I don't know that it lives up to the promise of that opening.
What's not to love? Ask Richard Dreyfuss.
Fine. You ask Richard Dreyfuss.
No, they did not get along on the set of What About Bob?
Well, nobody gets along with Richard Dreyfuss.
Well, no one gets along with Bill Murray either.
Apparently, but but we all love Bill Murray, so there you go.
Right, we do.
Okay, so
that's a good one.
It's a good pick. Good pick. So that brings us to Tuesday and Darren Dochterman, who has some more clowns to send in.
Only one. This again is a crying on the inside type of clown. It's actually an extremely tragic and heart-touching story. It's about a nobleman's child who was horribly mutilated due to an unfortunate
Chinese rice picker. Unfortunate accident, he has a job.
No rice picker.
Did he belong in the circus right next to the dog-faced boy?
Well, he winds up in a circus because of his deformation. And his deformation is so famous that we know it even today, because this is the original 1928 film starring Conrad Veidt, the man who laughs.
Yeah. Excellent choice. I had that on my very, very short list.
It is amazing. It's silent.
But deadly.
Yeah. The amount of emotion that Conrad Veidt portrays with very seemingly little effort, it's unbelievable, his performance in this. And the story is heart-wrenching, and you are devastated by the end. It's tragic, it's moving, it's extremely well told. The film was directed by the great Paul Lenny, and the original novel was by Victor Hugo, and the adaptation was by J. Alexander.
Oh.
So what?
I said the adaptation was by Tim Burton, because of course The Man Who Laughs was a huge inspiration on The Clown Prince of Crime.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
Indeed. And
explicitly.
Bill Finger, who created the Joker, alongside the machinations of Bob Kane, completely took that famous still of Conrad Veidt with his hideous grin and drew it as the Joker, and that's what it became. And it's amazing that here we are, almost 100 years later, and that still ripples in our popular culture.
Yeah,
I think because, aside from the fact that obviously it was given new life by how it was adapted into another medium as a different character, once you've seen that photo, once you've seen that, even if you've never seen the movie, if you've seen a picture of Conrad Veidt from that movie, like with just that grin, it sticks with you. It never leaves you. Yeah. I remember I saw that for the first time, maybe when I was like 9 or 10 years old. Like I was looking at this thing about like a sort of movie, like monsters, believe it or not. And it just glued itself into my brain. I didn't even make the connection at the time between that and the Joker, but I never forgot it. I have to say, Conrad,
because you were too traumatized by the "It's Alive" commercial.
That's you know what? Absolutely, man. It's like, I swear to God, like, my life is basically defined by the trauma of things that I've seen when I was a child. But Conrad Veidt, he's just been.
He's amazing. He's one of the few actors who was able to make the transition from silent to talkies.
Get me the radio tower. Get me the radio tower.
Exactly. Well, yeah. Obviously, he's in Casablanca, but he's also in The Thief of Baghdad, and he does an amazing performance there. And he is extremely effective as an actor, even when he's talking, which is special for that time of history.
No, it's a great pick. It's a great pick. It's an iconic image, obviously, of Conrad Veidt, and he was, like you said, a terrific actor. He has great stories. He hated playing a Nazi because, of course, he was a Jewish immigrant from Germany, and it's terrific.
And there's a great 4K transfer of the film that you can see. It's available.
Here's what I wonder about that movie and this show, because we like to cut in trailers.
Yeah, how are we going to do that?
It's not going to sound like, it's going to be like 3 minutes of silence.
Dun, dun, dun. It'll just be a piano playing.
Yeah. It'd be kind of terrific. Mark Rivera, over to you.
It's so funny you said that, because I was literally, when Darren said that, I was literally thinking that. I'm like, how are we going to play a trailer for this? Unless it's one of these home video trailers where they say, it was the look that inspired, the Joker, and da-da-da. Yeah. It's one of the most horrifying silent movies, but it's like, otherwise, be dun-dun-dun, dun-dun-dun. It's like trying to explain the Keystone Cops or something, over audio. So yeah, that's a really good point. Somebody's been listening to the podcast.
Well, which reminds me of one of our listeners or viewers suggested an all silent movie week. And I was thinking exactly the same thing. How would we ever do that on the audio version of the podcast?
Yeah, speaking of our listeners, I was at the Academy Museum yesterday, and I ran into the Huckman, Brian Huckby, who was there with his family, a longtime listener of both Inglourious Treksperts and 430 Movie. And I have to say, I've been critical of the Academy and obviously the Academy Museum on the show, but I had such a wonderful time at the museum yesterday. Really great. And my son, who really enjoyed right now they have an exhibit devoted to science fiction and matte paintings and things. And so he was mesmerized by the science fiction montage of sci-fi films, and then asked me to have me to print out the list of 101 greatest science fiction movies of all time that we did on Treksperts, because he wants to watch them, because he saw so many of the quotes, the clips at the Academy. So it served its purpose, I must say.
We'll see him
again. Reminds me, if we're going to do
years.
anything like that again, we need to start recording now.
I know. I said, well, maybe you can come on and tell us what you thought if we got our list right. He said, yeah, in 3 years when I'm done. I'll be happy.
Listening.
Yeah. So great pick for Tuesday with Darren. Now it brings us to our number one clown, Ashley Miller with Wednesday.
Have you ever danced with the devil in the pale moonlight?
I knew it.
No, you didn't. So place your bets. Okay. Place your bets.
It's not Batman. We know that, because you picked it too many times already.
Yeah.
I got my pick dialed in.
All right. You all dialed in?
I have no freaking idea.
All right.
But mine.
In a way, I hesitated to think I hesitated. I hesitated to make this pick because I felt like it would be too obvious to all of you. Like, it's almost, for me, it's straight down the middle. Like, it's exactly what you would expect me to pick. I had an alternate that I kind of thought about.
But Darren picked one we didn't expect. That was
very true. And I thought about something that would have been a nice little segue from that to Wednesday. But instead, I'm not going to do that. I am going to pick an odd little science fiction movie with a touch of comedy and a dash of horror.
Is it too late for me to change my? I'm going to make a backup one.
Okay, cool.
My pick locked and ready.
It was written, produced, and directed by the puppeteering lunatics who brought us Critters. Did the puppets for Team America: World Police. Yes, boys, exactly. I am talking about the Kyoto Brothers' 1988 opus, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
It was a night like any other night. Then something happened.
You see that?
Something different.
It's no shooting star.
Why here? Why now? Why clowns? They've been knocking them dead all over the universe.
What are you gonna do? Knock my block off?
Soon they'll be doing it at a theater near you.
Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
Pizza?
Maybe they're just cruising through the galaxy and stopped here for a bite to eat.
You don't need a police pal, you need a psychiatrist. They want to play games? They're messing with the wrong guy.
What are you in for?
Killer clowns from outer space. It's crazy.
Yeah, baby.
So the original title of this movie was just Killer Clowns. And they added from outer space because the Kyoto brothers didn't want the audiences to believe that it was a slasher film. I guess because they didn't want to lose any street cred. All right, so here's the premise. The premise is that a shooting star lands just outside of a small town. And inside of that shooting star is a ship. The ship is filled with aliens who all look like clowns. Their ship looks like a circus tent. And they begin a rampage through this town where they take captives who they place into these cotton candy cocoons for their own nefarious purposes. I don't want to say it's pretty straightforward because let's face it, once you're into, killer clowns from outer space shooting popcorn at people, you're not straightforward. You're in a very strange place. But I will say this about the movie. It never ceases to entertain. It is bizarre. It is almost ceaselessly inventive in terms of how it maximizes the potential of its completely insane premise. It has an enormous amount of fun with itself, and I don't mean that in some salacious way. Look, it's funny. There's a scene that just never fails to make me laugh, where there's one of the clowns rides up to a bunch of bikers, outlaw bikers, and he's like on his tiny little moped. And they don't understand that he's an evil alien who has evil alien powers. And the president of that MC is he's giving this little clown a hard time about his bike. And he asks to honk the bike's horn and honk, honk. And he honks it by destroying the bike. And he's mocking him. And he's like, "Oh, I'm sorry. Did I break your bike?" And the clown puts up his dukes with little boxing gloves on. And says, "What are you going to do? Knock my block off?" And the clown punches him. And his head just flies right off into a trash can. And I die laughing every single time. Which, look, I mean, if you get one die laughing just once out of a movie, then you're pretty ahead. I can't tell you that.
Or you lose a head.
Or you lose a head. The police reported a head. But what about the rest of the body? I'm not going to tell you that this movie is freaking. It's not Kramer versus Kramer, man. It's not.
Although that would be cool.
Although that would be Killer Clown versus Killer Clowns from Outer Space as Kramer versus Kramer.
I prefer it as ordinary people.
Oh yeah, totally. It would just like one of the clowns keeps slamming the door. It would be terrific. And the clowns never say a word. They just make clown noises. It's for what it is. I will say that it is fairly smart.
It's the greatest clown movie ever made.
It's the greatest killer clown movie ever made, period.
Bold words.
Hands down. It knows, well, you know what? There is another. But it's just entertaining. It knows exactly what it is. And it's not bad because it's trying to be something and fails. It succeeds at being exactly what it sets out to be. And you know that everybody involved with the making of this movie just had a spectacular time filming every frame of it. And that's how you know that you're watching something special. When you can just detect the joy with which something has been made and offered up to you, no matter how insane and kind of dumb it might be. So, if you're into this kind of thing, and I guess that's my standard caveat for Wednesday, if you're into this kind of thing, I cannot recommend Killer Clowns from Outer Space highly enough. I'm going to throw that highly enough because otherwise I would just be saying I cannot recommend Killer Clowns from Outer Space, which I can.
No, I remember seeing this movie at Dr. Reed's Academy of Science Fiction, Fantasy, and Horror screening on USC campus in '88. I think that was the only time I ever saw it, but it was a blast. I second Ashley's motion. It just embraces its premise with gusto and, just goes straight down the line and milks every bit of humor about clowns and horror and alien invasions and makes it part of the movie in sometimes silly and sometimes horrific ways. And it's a lot of fun. And the makeup effects, those clown heads are in these kind of animatronic
by the Cheeto brothers. Yeah.
Yeah. They're wonderful. I mean, they're really well done and super creepy and weird.
Well, I think this film was an audition reel for them, as directors. And obviously they had a lot of success as makeup prosthetics guys. And, it's such a cult classic. And how could it not be with that title?
Exactly. You have to watch it just from the title alone.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Shout Factory put it out recently on Blu-ray. So busy for a while. It had only been on DVD.
What a shame.
Clown Week here on the 430 movie. We're
in
loving
the center ring.
5 years. 5 seasons.
This brings us to Thursday.
It does indeed. And it's funny because, I kind of figured Ashley would go with Killer Clowns from Outer Space or House of a Thousand Corpses. Mm-hmm. He went with Killer Clowns for the Outer Space. I do like Sid Haig, of course, because of his sensational performance as Spiro, Julie Newmar's hench person in the classic Buck Rogers episode, Flight of the War Witch.
Yeah, I love that episode.
I was lucky enough to work with Sid Haig on House of the Dead 2, in which I talked to him about Flight of the War Witch. And of course,
he's also one of King Tut's minions in the original.
I know, one of his earliest roles. And let's not forget his role in Diamonds Are Forever as one of the funeral guys.
That's right.
And I didn't know there was a pool down there. He's not the guy who says that, but
right.
But he's.
Can I just, before you go on, can I just tell you, I totally get why you thought maybe I would pick House of a Thousand Corpses, but I will tell you that even as a horror aficionado,
yes,
I'm not a Rob Zombie. I mean, I love actually the music, but I'm not a Rob Zombie fan. I feel like Rob Zombie, when you make Rob Zombie movies, or when he makes Rob Zombie movies, nobody else makes them. They have the feel of a guy who is making porno in his basement, then starts masturbating and totally forgets that the camera is on. It just it's just disturbing, and you just feel wrong having watched it. Now I watched. You're probably going to pick House of a Thousand Corpses. So,
well, first I was going to say I kind of agree with you, but
then I got to the masturbating part.
No, but how great does that trailer for the Monsters look?
Yeah, that's true.
I gotta step out of line. Next to the original, it looks like
of course, of course, next to the original. But it's like of all the people that paying homage to the Munsters and doing it in kind of an authentic, loving way, Rob Zombie would not have been the person I guessed.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it looks interesting. I think it looks well cast.
I will watch it. But I love the Munsters.
I know you do.
And we'll see. We'll see.
I mean, I was it's just like people would pitch Star Trek against Space 1999 as kids. Today, back then, Munsters versus the Addams Family was the big thing. You were either an Addams Family fan or a Munsters fan. Now, the reason I liked the Munsters was because it was part of that Channel 11 lineup. So if there was nothing good on the 430 movie, you watch the Munsters at 3. Then Batman would come on with 2 episodes.
I love them.
Was Addams Family on Channel 5? Addams Family was on Channel 5.
Addams Family was on Channel 5, which is not as good as Channel 11. So I would watch the Munsters because it was on Channel 11, which was the good independent. But 5 and 9 were lame.
You love them both.
No, but Channel 11 always had the better shows. 5 would be less good, and then 9 had all the crap except for the Mets games.
That's right.
Yeah.
What are these things called? television channels.
Back in the ancient times.
But my train of thought there was derailed.
Yes,
because I was talking
derailed like a circus train.
I was talking about Sid Haig being in a Bond movie. You know what else was in a Bond movie? Clowns. Roger Moore.
Oh, boy.
Oh, Steve, you know
boy.
me so well. Roger Moore. Now, one of the reasons I'm picking Octopussy, 1983's Roger Moore, James Bond classic.
Bond hits an all-time high. Roger Moore is Ian Fleming's James Bond 007 in Octopussy. Roger Moore in his newest and most thrilling of the James Bond adventures, filling the screen with excitement. In the tradition of the great James Bond films, Octopussy has everything. Elegant palaces and beautiful women.
Good morning.
Good morning, sir.
Name's Bond. I believe you have a reservation for me.
We've been expecting you, sir.
I'm Octopussy, and you are James Bond. 007 licensed to kill. Am I to be your target for tonight?
Over here, James!
This is Bond at his best, hitting an all-time high in Octopussy.
Step on it!
The Bond that tops them all. Octopussy, racing across the screen with thrills and excitement. Roger Moore in his newest James Bond adventure, hitting an all-time high in Octopussy.
Is because people hate this movie with a passion. You know why they hate it? Because Roger Moore dresses up as a clown. It's so stupid. It's not stupid. It actually shows what a great secret agent he is, because this is actually a very underrated movie. It's about Vladimir Putin, who wants to take over Eastern Europe, invade the West with a lightning strike. And basically, Steven Berkoff, as this unhinged Russian general, is going to detonate a nuclear weapon in West Berlin, and James Bond has to foil it. And he goes and this is all happening under the guise of Octopussy Circus, Maud Adams, the great Maud Adams. And so he's eluding the police that think somehow he's a bad guy or a terrorist. He has to dress as a clown. And people say, oh, Roger Moore, he dresses as a clown, and it demeans the character.
No one notices clowns.
But he's at a circus. He's at a circus. And I have to say, that sequence where he has to disarm the bomb before it goes off at the circus is between the John Barry score and it's some of John Glenn's best directions. Because John Glenn was a bit of a ham-handed director. It's a great sequence. And I love it. And I hate the fact that that movie doesn't get a lot of love. It came out the same year as Never Say Never Again, which you would think because it has Sean Connery would be so much better. Never Say Never Again is an embarrassment of monumental proportions. Octopussy is by far the better film. I hear people listening from now going, ugh, what is Altman talking about? Well, let me tell you, you're wrong. You're wrong. I'm a fucking gatekeeper. The gate is shut on your goddamn hand, and I'm right and you're wrong, okay? So
the gate is shut on your ham-handed directing.
That's right. I'm slamming the gate. Call me a gatekeeper. I don't care, because you know what? I know more about Bond than you do. So there you go. So I literally wrote the book.
I can't say that this pick is an all-time high.
But you're a Rita Coolidge fan, aren't you?
Yeah, but you know what? I actually kind of like Octopussy in the Roger Moore oeuvre. So I'm with you on that. I mean, look, I do think the clown thing is a little unsettling, and like I don't know if it's a good way, but it kind of works. So I find it difficult to contest your analysis.
I have to say that if Jerry Lewis had released the Data Clown Crime, maybe that would have been my pick.
Oh
maybe.
My God, all of a sudden, there's like the Jerry Lewis movies.
Yeah.
Like the don't raise the. What was the one about like the kid who's got all the different uncles? What? You know what I mean? Like, oh God damn it! I'll figure it out by the time we get to Friday. Anyway, but go ahead. So Octopussy, we love it. Well, you love it. Darren doesn't. I like it. What does Steve think?
Octopussy was my first Bond film in a movie theater. I had seen a lot of them on television at that point, and I had read several of the Ian Fleming novels, but Octopussy was my first time. I hated even saying the title of the movie back in 1983 because it felt so dirty to say it out loud. But I saw the movie in the theater and I loved it. It's one of my favorite Roger Moore Bond outings. I love the opening titles, the opening sequence with the little mini airplane and everything.
The Acrojet. Yep.
Yes.
Just think if you had substituted the meaning of the word octo in front of that.
Or the meaning of the word
8.
Yeah.
You're a Toro too. Great line. You're a Toro too. I love that teaser. And of course, as always with the Bond movies, they go with the Roger Moore Bond movies, they go a little too far. They have this great action sequence, and then it ends with him running out of gas and pulling up to a gas station and going, fill her up. It always one too far.
They always got to put the button on it.
They got to put the button on it. You know, it was like the same thing with For Your Eyes Only. I'll buy you a delicatessen, stainless steel, keep your hair on. But, same thing with,
Moonraker. I mean, that Moonraker would be like a letter grade better if they just cut out those dumb jokes.
The dopey humor.
It would also be a half hour long.
We could extend this episode another half hour with a knockdown drag out fight we could have.
Because I love Moonraker. There are no clowns in Moonraker though.
Buys it. It's like one of those places like where we just fundamentally disagree, Mark, and that's okay.
No, because it's like For All Mankind. Moonraker is like in an alternate world. Moonraker could have happened in an alternate history.
Wow.
Anyway, okay, but like Octopussy isn't nearly as bad. It has a really gorgeous John Barry score.
Mm-hmm.
Steve Burkoff is scary as hell, especially these days. And then Louis Jourdan is not great. And there's a great scene where he plays backgammon, which is right out of Goldfinger, but it's still great. And the villain crushes the dice. But, Vijay Armitage, who you all loved in Star Trek 4, attempting to construct a solar sail, once again dominates the movie with his charisma and his tennis racket. And, what can I say? I don't really like clown movies, but I do like Bond movies.
And what better than a clown Bond movie?
There's generally only one step removed from either a Bond movie or Woody Allen movie with most of these topics, so we can.
Right. And Woody Allen never played a clown in any of his movies. Well, he might have actually. Come to think of it,
that's not
At this point, it's nearly impossible. I think to come up with a week that you can't sort of sideways get to a Bond movie.
In Sleeper, he does play the robot, which is a bit of a clown. He puts on the makeup and he's pretending to be a robot. You could say it's a clown.
You could say that.
But I'm going to stick with Octopussy.
All right.
But I could have easily gone with Sleeper. So my pick for Thursday, of course, is the James Bond classic of 1983. Octopussy.
83. Oh, right.
83.
Yeah. 83. It was the Battle of the Bonds for those of you who are
It was the not greatest geek year ever.
That's right.
It was the year after the greatest geek year ever.
Yeah,
and
it was the Hangover year.
It was the Hangover, yeah. But 83 was not a particularly good year. But everyone was looking forward to the Battle of the Bonds, and it turned out to be much ado about nothing.
Oof.
Yeah, Never Say Never Again was the second Bond movie I saw in a theater. It was a little bit of a letdown.
Yeah, I saw. We're just about the same age, but the first one I saw was Man with the Golden Gun.
Oof,
much earlier than you.
Well, I didn't know. Like my parents weren't into James Bond, and I had to really pick and choose the movies that I saw. It was so much harder for me to get to a movie theater.
Yeah, I was lucky. My parents loved James Bond movies.
Yeah. My dad too. Like he just whenever they were on the ABC Sunday night movie, like that's what we were watching. And if it was possible to take us to the movie, then he would take us to the movie. So, it's it's I love them just for that.
That's great. That's so cool. Okay, well, that brings us to Friday and all that plethora of fantastic clown movies.
Several.
I figured out what the movie I was thinking of was. The Jerry Lewis movie where he plays a clown is the Family Jewels, where he's playing 6 uncles who are trying to win over the affections of their little niece who has inherited a large amount of money. Hey, lady! And one of those uncles is sort of a ne'er-do-well clown. So there you go. But I don't think it would be my personal pick for Friday. Personally, I think like the direction we ought to go for Friday is It Part 1. Because that is the ultimate killer clown film. And Part 2 is not really very good, but Part 1 is goddamn amazing.
Well, I mean, I think there's some other options, and one of them Darren's going to tell us right now.
I got a couple more. The first one is The Founder. The story of Ray Kroc.
That's a great movie, by the way.
Because it is a great movie.
It's about Ronald McDonald.
Essentially, yes. But it's so well acted by Michael Keaton. He's lovable and you hate him at the same time. It's great. And an amazing performance by Nick Offerman as one of the McDonald brothers. It's really good. I watched it the other day, actually, because it was just on.
Those are 2 great picks. It and The Founder are both great picks. But I want to put in and The Fountainhead. Has nothing to do with clowns, but anything gets us away from clowns.
The Fountainhead.
I want to submit for your approval Poltergeist, 1982's classic haunted house movie. That clown, it doesn't play a huge part, but it's pivotal and it's terrifying and very memorable.
But if you include Poltergeist, then you have to include The Game by David Fincher.
Yes. Wow. There is a movie the people don't quite talk about enough. David Fincher. I want to say, was it like 96, 97, something like that?
Post-7, first movie after 7.
Yeah.
Yep. And it's really terrific.
It's really terrific. And it's got a great clown in it.
It does.
I don't even remember the clown in that movie.
Oh my God. Yeah. It's the puppet. It's the doll that basically gives him his the start of his game, and it has
and it's a little redundant, but David Fincher shoots that clown so well.
It's creepy. So we got 3 really good possibilities for Friday: The Founder, The Game, and Poltergeist. Wow. So Steve, what else? What else can you do to confuse the issue?
Well, I was going to suggest Poltergeist. You stole my thunder there. I mean, there's always, we skirted around the edges. We talked about the clown Prince of Crime, but he's had the Joker has had several memorable film performances, very memorably in Batman '66. The
we're saving that for Mustache.
Cesar Romero, and of course, Jack Nicholson's portrayal of the Joker in 1989's Batman, and then Heath Ledger playing the Joker in the Dark Knight. 3 very different but equally iconic performances.
And Joaquin Phoenix.
In Joker.
Joker is really good.
Yep.
Yeah,
he is amazing. In fact, I would say that the thing that I find most, first of all, by the way, I think that was how many characters have had 2 different actors nominated for Oscars? And I think, did Joaquin Phoenix win that Oscar?
I don't think so.
But just for the same character, but just these different portrayals. And what I find fascinating is Cesar Romero, Jack Nicholson, Heath Ledger, Joaquin Phoenix, they all have very different interpretations of who that character is. And they are all in their own way equally interesting and watchable. They bring different colors to it.
Yeah.
But if you look at somebody like Jared Leto, say what you will about Jared Leto, or even like the sort of the brief appearance of the Joker in the Batman, which I didn't like quite as much as Mark liked it, but more than Darren liked it. But in that performance, I feel Heath Ledger. I feel sort of a little bit of Heath Ledger karaoke. And to a certain extent, people are doing these performances of other performances. But those 4 guys create very different versions of the Joker, which tells you what a powerful character he is. Joker was almost my Wednesday.
Powerful character, yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, I was right. Yeah, Joaquin Phoenix did win Best Actor for that performance. So there you go.
There you go. Wow. So we got The Founder. We got The Game. We got It. We got Poltergeist.
Yeah. Jack Nicholson was nominated for supporting actor. So yeah, like all these actors were nominated for Oscars for playing the Joker.
Nothing for Cesar Romero.
No, yeah. Well, I gotta say that for the Joker, I mean, it's not like the problem with the Joker's a very impressive movie, but at the same time, it's a very derivative movie. I mean, should we nominate Rupert Pupkin? Should we nominate
Rupert Pupkin, ladies and gentlemen? Rupert Pupkin.
Should we nominate French Connection?
Wonderful.
No, it's fair. It's And the reason why ultimately I can't believe I'm saying this. The reason why I ultimately went for Killer Clowns from Outer Space for Wednesday and not Joker is I feel like we could put Joker in a couple of different theme weeks. That wouldn't necessarily be about that.
Yes, movies ripping off King of Comedy and French Connection week.
Sure. Why not? But I mean, it's like good poets borrow, great poets steal. It's like ultimately, does the movie work or not? And does the performance work or not? Sure.
Yeah, the performance is great. The performance is great.
But it's not. It doesn't have to be that. It's not about the clown thing. It's about something else entirely. And I think it would have been a nice segue from The Man Who Laughs to Joker or The Dark Knight.
Well, then you should have picked it. You could have been that segue.
I could have, but I don't think. But I don't necessarily know that it's right.
You blew
for
it.
What this week is. It's not. I think it's great, but it's not fun.
See, the right thing that would have been is for you to pick Joker or Dark Knight and then advocated for Killer Clowns for Outer Space for Friday, which would have been the right way to go. But okay, it's not going to be. It's not to be.
It's not going to be. It's not the history that happened, is it?
You can't change the conditions of the test.
I can't change the laws of physics.
I
gotta say, I think that Heath Ledger performance in Dark Knight is obviously one of the great performances. Certainly an amazing epitome of the clown prince of crime. Really the reason that movie resonates so and was so successful had more to do with Heath Ledger than probably anyone else involved in the making of that movie. Then again, I guess it is, we are doing clowns and it's sort of an iconic clown movie. The Game, I think, is a great choice just because it's out of left field. Not as out of left field as The Founder, but that is an appropriate Friday pick. Obviously I think Poltergeist is a great pick. So we got our, House of Thousand Corpses, House on Sorority Row. There's Scott Sava's Animal Crackers,
Shakes the Clown,
Bob Kegel, Charlie Chaplin and Limelight. We didn't talk about. Maybe we're saving that for Silence Week.
Wasn't there? I'm sure there's some crazy, completely pretentious Italian film clown in it.
What is
like
that?
A Fellini.
La Strada. La Strada has clowns in it. I think 8.5 has clowns in it.
Wasn't there a movie about John Wayne Gacy?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Dude. Okay, now you're speaking my language.
Yeah.
That's not that I have the heads of my victims in my refrigerator. I wouldn't do that. I would keep them in my garage freezer.
You're giving us too much information.
Yeah, way too much information.
Okay, what's it going to be, boys?
Tough one.
What's it going to be? Let's try and narrow it down.
Well, we unfortunately, I guess we can't pick The Day the Clown Cried because nobody has a print. So the 4:30 movie couldn't show it.
Only Harry Shearer has apparently seen it. So
we would be showing Let Them Eat Static. We would. Anyone want to advocate strongly for one of these fine choices?
I think any of them
that
would be great. It does. No, I personally, I think that the right call here is it. Although I think
it's so obvious.
Yeah, exactly. And it can slot into other weeks.
And especially
so I'm a little fascinated by the Poltergeist pick, frankly.
Especially is because it wasn't as good as the TV movie version. In my opinion.
Part one,
Tim Curry.
Part two, definitely not. But part one, I don't know. I think part one was pretty terrific.
I would advocate for the Founder only because it's completely bonkers.
I would advocate for Poltergeist.
Yeah,
the clown is so little in that.
But he's pivotal.
But it's totally pivotal, and it sticks with you.
And it encapsulates this whole fear of clowns. They only have to be there for a little bit, and they stick with you, and they scare you.
Let's face it.
They scare you.
It's like, what's the Jack Handy thing?
Deep Thoughts?
Yeah, it's like the Jack Handy is like, Deep Thoughts. It's like, I've always been afraid of clowns. Maybe it's because a clown killed my parents.
I've always been afraid of clowns, and I always will be.
The death of my boy.
If being a coward means running and screaming and tripping and crying and begging for mercy, well then, Mr. Brave Man, I guess I am a coward.
Steve, you're the voice of reason. Be
Help
reasonable.
us, Steve. Help us.
Help us.
Steve.
Well, I mean, I dearly love Poltergeist, and I agree that it's an iconic clown performance by an inanimate object that becomes animated by ghosts. I love The Founder. It's a terrific movie. I kind of wish I picked it for Surprise Week because it's a wonderful movie that everyone should see if you haven't seen it.
It was a surprise you didn't.
I'm kind of leaning towards it because the clown is so central to that movie, and he's scary as hell. Even though the sequel was a big disappointment.
I'll go along with that. I'll go along with it
just because I want the show to be over.
This is a good episode, man. It's like, this is insane, but it's a pretty good episode.
Sort of like a clown.
It's insane.
I'm scared of all these clowns. I just want them to go away. Okay, so are we going to go with it? Anybody want to say anything about Andy Muschietti's It? This movie that took the world by storm a couple of summers ago?
What's great about that film is that it really captures the relationships between those kids, and it makes their everyday horrors feel very integrated into the horror that's presented by the supernatural, that's presented by the clown, which makes it incredibly immediate. And in a way, all of that really underlines what's wrong with the sequel. In the book and in the miniseries, all of the stuff that took place in a contemporary sense, all of the modern events required, the events that happened when those characters were children to give it stakes, to give it context. Decoupled from that, all of the things with the kids still work. The things with the adults don't work anymore because the context is now missing. Even if you watch those movies back to back, it's missing. You would need to recut them into something else. But it is a weirdly beautiful coming of age story. And one of the things that Stephen King has always done very well is tell stories about being a child and the experience of being a child and experiencing fear as a child and how we process fear, what we do with it, and how we overcome it. So I would recommend it, not just because it's a great horror film, but because it is honestly felt and it is honestly conveyed. It's very well directed. The performances by those kids are terrific, and you love them and you fear for them. And it is better, frankly, than it had, I think, any right to be.
And what you just said kind of throws into sharper relief why the sequel or part 2 wasn't nearly as successful, because I've always found, for me anyway, horror movies, the bigger they get, the less scary they get. And this once you have a giant clown running around with these crazy visual effects, it's just becomes it's not believable anymore. What I always find,
not emotionally believable
anymore.
Exactly.
Yeah. For the fear to be real, I like a sort of a lower stakes in a way. It's not like, world-ending stakes. It's like the stakes are to the characters that you care about.
Maybe we should have gone with Blue Velvet, the candy-colored clown. I call this Sandman.
Don't look at me.
Got to go see Ben.
Okay, maybe not. Well,
be a good neighbor to her.
We sent in the clowns. They're here. Do with them what you will. Anyway, that was Clown Week. Steve, what are we watching on Monday?
Monday, it's Bill Murray, Gina Davis, and Randy Quaid as they pull off a heist in Quick Change.
Darren, Tuesday, it's very, very quiet.
Tuesday is Conrad Veidt being very quiet indeed in The Man What Laughs.
On Wednesday, Ashley Edward Miller, what are we watching?
Wednesday is 1988's Kyoto Brothers opus, Killer Clowns from Outer Space.
And on Thursday, Roger Moore is Ian Fleming's secret agent, James Bond 007 in 1983's clown opus, Octopussy.
The Clownopussy. That doesn't sound good at all.
And on Friday,
it's Michael Keaton running in as the founder.
What?
Stephen King.
He's stealing the slot, just like he stole the secret
right.
recipe.
It's Stephen King's It.
My grandfather thinks this town is cursed. That all the bad things that happen in this town are because of one thing. An evil thing.
Bill, if you'll come with me, you'll float too.
George. I saw something.
The clown. Yeah, I saw him too. You'll float too.
What happens when another Georgie goes missing? Or one of us?
You'll float too.
Are you just gonna pretend it isn't happening like everyone else in this town? If we stick together, we'll win.
Unless you're loving it and you want the founder. I'm loving it.
Part one.
The founder, part two. Okay. And on Saturday, it's the drive-in movie, The Founder.
The Founder.
Let's just see The Founder at the drive-in.
It's a drive-through drive-in.
That's right. I see. Yes.
Yeah, there you go.
You can bring your hamburger sandwich to your car.
That's right.
Actually, we do it with the grimace instead of a clown.
Oh.
Dude.
Wow.
Hey, kids, come under the table and have an adventure. Oh, gosh. What?
Both my hands are on top of the table. But, Grimace, you have 4 hands. Where are the other 2?
Those aren't 2 pillows?
We don't see those characters enough, I have to say. The Hamburglar.
And Mayor McCheese.
He's just misunderstood. Well, Mayor McCheese is spent, he took a bribe to build a stadium, and now he's
Big Mac had to lock him up.
They had to lock him up. That's right. He'll be out in about 10 years. He'll be back doing the commercials. Okay, so, gentlemen, this was a pleasure as always, and a sincere sensation. And if you are a fan of this podcast, please rate us 5 stars wherever you listen, whether it be Apple, Spotify, Stitcher, Podbean, all these wonderful podcast suppliers. Or McDonald's, that's right.
We're going to be like the 4:30 movie Happy Meal coming soon.
That's right. And it'll have pictures of all of us. That's how you'll lose your appetite. We'll all be on the side of the box.
DOCTERMAN on my plate so I can eat off his face.
Well, if I had a dime every time I heard that.
And of course, you'll be able to see all of us down at the San Diego Comic-Con in late July, and down in the Vegas at the Star Trek.
The Vegas.
The Vegas.
Dantana. So we hope you'll join us at one of these opportunities to come and say hello. Darren and Steve and Ashley would love to meet you. But they'll talk to you.
But bring your personal scooters.
Don't come near me with
possible.
Don't come near me with a scooter. You just stay away. Say, I gotta get a restraining order. No scooters within 10 feet.
You need a bowling pin sound effect for the next one that hits you. It'll be great.
I better not get hit. I'm still, my knee never felt the same ever since.
You got to face your fear, Mark. You got to face the fear.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, if everyone confronts a secret pain, it's not so secret. It's pretty out there. I don't hide a secret pain. I have a very overt pain.
Everyone confronts a secret pain, including their sciatica.
I'm not even going to bring up Cybok. That's for the other show. We'll talk about that another time. Okay, well, listen, thank you for joining us for the Send in the Clowns Week of 430 Movie. You can visit us at 430 Movie Pod on 430 Movie. You can visit us 430 Movie Podcast on Instagram and Facebook. And, of course, a very special thanks to Mark Rivera, who always makes it sound so great, as well as Bill Ritter, who's the man who started it all. And, of course, we want to thank Peter Holmstrom, Zach Ragetz, Natalie Miscali, and everyone over at Electric Entertainment for continuing to bring you the 430 Movie week after week, except the weeks we miss. And we'll see you next week with an all-new 430 Movie. Until then, Eyewitness News.
Network production.